Greetings to all of you around the world, our viewers and listeners, wherever you are. We are back again on Wednesday, today, 24th of August, 2022, with our program on Dialogue with the Youth. So, also today, we have fantastic guests that we are going to discuss myriad of issues, current issues in the Gambia. As we all know, the issues are just, most running in the Gambia. It has got so messy to the extent that one don't know where to start, where not to start. But to have a diagnosis of all the issues that are happening in the country and the genesis, and to have a post-mortem of what is the cause, what is behind the written words. We have one of Gambia's finest, in the fatigable Ben Suwareh here with us, to discuss issues that are happening in the Gambia and issues that are of urgent solutions, to be kind of, find out anywhere we can so that we can salvage that country. Welcome to Dialogue with the Youth. So, Brother Ben, once again.
Yeah, good evening, Ebrima. Thank you very much for inviting me again. It's always a pleasure to be on the platform with you. I am looking forward to a very constructive discussion as always. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brother Ben. And it's not notice anyway, but appreciate it for you to devote with your time, to come on the platform to discuss issues with us. Today we are going to discuss issues about Minister Baji, how he engaged in constructive corruption, if you like. On the topics also that we're going to discuss is who approved, the per diem, the payment for Bakari Baji. And we are going to also talk about the domestic grievances on the rise in the Gambia. This is related to the cost of living expenses in the Gambia and how and the inflations and everything around that topic. Also, we are going to discuss what the Gambian Tourism Ministry and tourism board doing to promote destination Gambia, because Gambian tourism is in chaos. We have competition all over, and Gambia now is trailing, uncomfortably at a very, 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 very bad position, compared to others. And what are we doing about it? Are we aggravating this situation, by poor leadership and all those things, through also we're going to talk about some of the recent education results. The Gambia, the education results that came out are also in trouble. And of course, the SSHFC, Social Security Housing Finance Corporation, Jaban Estate issue also propped up, and we have to discuss these things. And, in discussing this, we are going to ask a question. Probably Brother Ben will answer that. Why not hold Hadim Gay, and the criminal technocrat accountable for the causes of the flooding, especially all over the country, but especially Banjul and Jabang real estate. Brother Ben, welcome. The table is full for you. We have a lot of menu anyway to discuss. I don't think the time will allow us, but we will try as much as possible so that we can discuss some of these things. Let's start with Minister Baji. Ben, tell us, what is happening, and tell us, some of the things that are hidden in that letter that you discover or you uncover, pointing to every allegations that this is not by mistake, it's deliberate. It's just that people came out with this uproar that, the minister's tail is on his food. Two foots, 2 feet. But anyway, I think, tell us, what happened,
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ebrima. Let me start with again to explain this. The uproar is very understandable, because there's a lot of young people that had hope that young politicians or people who aspire to be in politics, or who had claimed that they want to go into politics, would bring about change in our political way we do our politics. But it has been a disappointment with Dr. Cisse. Now we have another disappointment with Bakari. Anyway, I said this with Bakari the minute he started to flirt with Barrow's government and eventually getting into Barrow's government. Then we know that he was not interested in leadership to change, but he was interested in leadership to position himself to be part of the gravy trade. This is the problem we have in our country. Now, Padem abuse, we have to look at this. There's Padem abuse and there's Padem corruption. Now, this does not start with Barrow's government or Yaya government. It started in the First Republic. But in the First Republic, it's like civil servants were using it to top up their income. Ways of looking, okay, let me try and go to this trip. And that's abuse. Because you are not going to the trip for the value that it brings to the taxpayer. But you are going there because of you invited, okay, and there's a way that you will make Padem for yourself. You see, it's well overdue. Especially when this new government came, we have seen the abuse. And again, politicians have to be very careful. The technocrats who control the systems don't want the system to change because they benefit from the system. If you look at their salaries and you look at the way of life they have, they cannot afford that apart from corruption or abuse of the system. And as you come in as a politician, what they do is to try to get you to take part in the culture of Padem abuse. Now, in this case, we can look at it two ways. For Bakari as a minister to go to a tournament, we call it a tournament or whatever event, which is, let's say, from the Africa Cup of Nations. He went from the beginning and stayed throughout. There's nothing that a minister can add value of in that tournament. And that's one way of looking at it, that this person is going there without adding any value, because of the football is managed, supervised by the Gambia Football Federation. They have their technical committees, they have technical staff. And these are the people that needed there. A minister might have to visit for a day or two, there might be ministerial meetings or other things to do, and that's it. But he stayed over. But again, we see this one, which is the latest, that he came to Birmingham and stayed throughout. Again, in the Commonwealth Games, and we have probably 2 days of ministerial meetings. At most, he could have spent 4 days and go back to his office and supervise. Now, this can be construed as abusing the Padem, staying away from your office and neglecting your duty, to make money out of it. But the most damning thing is that he invited, or he claimed that the wife was invited, but in the letter it didn't say the wife. It's like that, and it was forwarded, and these things are protocol to tell you that you can get a plus one. It does not mean to be your wife. You can get any member of your someone you think that have to benefit or have something to impact on going to the games, and you invite that person to come with you to the games if you have to come. Now, but what we find out is, first they came out to say, the money did not come from government, which is a lie. Because in the letter, and look at this is what we call constructive. They put something, a system, you see, and that's why I said the technocrats are part of criminality. They are the criminals, in fact, and they get the politicians to play with it. They took 7.5 million as subvention to support the Olympics committee, but they sent that to the Sports Council, then the sports onward delivery to the Olympic committee. That's for support of Gambia participation to the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham and the All Islamic Games in Turkey. Now, if the minister or any delegations leaves the minister of youth sports, and to be paid and their travel, be it expense. People forget about the expense. There are other expense different from the Padem. Now, the expense and Padem, if that is paid by the GNIC, it's like they took it from the money that you gave them. You see, it's like the left given to the right. It's the same as if you have taken money from the ministry. This money came from the ministry for support for this thing. And if we claim that we don't have enough resources, then any penny we spend have to be spent judiciously to make sure that its value for money, for taxpayers. But we don't take opportunity. Oh, Commonwealth invited me and said that I can bring along someone to come with me. Okay, I choose to bring my wife to come with me, and my wife to get paid per diem. First, if you don't work for a government, you should not be paid a per diem. It's wrong. It's not in, look, and the minister cannot claim to not to know that. He doesn't even need to ask. You cannot be paid by government if you don't work for government. That's simple. Now, be the general order, be any article there, he should be familiar with the what governs him or governs his office. And if he is in doubt, he have to write, not to say that I seek advice. Did he write to seek that advice? And that advice should come with pointing to a section of the law or the regulations that permits you to do this. But you cannot rely on someone to say, oh, you can do it, it's normally done. It's not whether it's normally done, is it legal to be done? This is your question. And the only way you can have that question is by paper trail, and make sure your permanent secretary or whoever is you seek advice on have pointed to section 1 or section 2 or 3 or 5, that this is where it's stated that you can travel with your wife, and your wife will be entitled to for the ticket and other expense, and plus £200 per day. But we looked at this thing, it's none. Now, the other interesting thing is, in the letter, that should say, they said special guest, and they used the Miss Hawa Jabati, which is strange. And they did not indicate that the minister is traveling with the wife. The minister will be paid £300 and the wife will be paid £200. They did not do that. And they deliberately put Miss Hawa Jabati. And if you don't know who Miss Hawa Jabati is, you will know who. No, if the letter was not leaked, nobody will find out. Now, is that deliberate? That again point to the constructive nature of trying to defraud, because you don't want to alert anyone to think of something going wrong here. Let me just put these things, which we know that it's not the official way to address the wife of the minister. This would be constructive. Corruption. Now, if you take both the abuse, which is morally wrong, but technically, in fact, illegal, because the per diem is meant for something, the resources are meant for something. If you deliberately go and to travel just to gain access to that per diem, then if that can be proven, it's illegal. Now, it's not only Bakari doing this, but you cannot stand as a person to say, I'm not the only person doing it, or we cannot claim to say he's not the only person doing it. That's why we ask for something. In order for this to stop, Bakari should be investigated. But again, that investigation should look into, within reasonable time bound, the status of limitation, 3 years, 4 years, or 5 years, to see all the party paid and to make sure scrutinize. And we have a system that is fit for purpose to stop this abuse. If we realize how much is paid in per diem, and we cry out that we don't have resources for our hospitals, we don't have resources for our schools, we don't have resources for football fields and other things, because of the money is not spent where it's meant to spend. And people are you see, people used to top up their earning, but now people are creating wealth from per diem abuse.
Yeah, Ben, another what I have to emphasize here, this is nothing against Bakari.
No.
He is a public figure that is representing the youth of the Gambia. Youth population is the highest in the Gambia. We see the joblessness, we thought, people like Bakari, people have high hope on him. He's educated young man, who has been, working with youths all over the place. So for him to come and close his eye, because Ben, in the letter also, the wife was mentioned as a special guest.
Yes,
not even mentioned as Bakari's wife. But the whole issue is, if this is just there. If you are not working for government, you should not get paid in. The paid in system need to be restructured. We need to, have the Public Account Committee of the National Assembly need to call Bakari so that they can do this as an example to others. Even if you want to use the loopholes, to defraud the Gambian population, we are going to come after you, because this cannot just be right. Things cannot just be, because then, you talk about the skill, the knowledge, the innovation of the people. Any country that want to develop, that want to compete tomorrow, you have to invest on your people. And we are going to come there. But you made an analysis here. The average Gambian teacher's salary is an hourly, they take about nearly $75 or less,
Less.
If you take a bag of rice from their salary at the end of the month, nothing is left. So how do we expect to have a quality education system? Why are we surprised when we have 70% of our students fail and all those things? We know, the system is there's no system there all over. When a minister and his wife are paid, £500 per night, for you have the Commonwealth, the Islamic Games held in both in Birmingham and Turkey. This cannot just be good. It cannot just be right. And I saw him. He was just defending things here and there. But definitely the whole issue, Bakari, this cannot just be right. Read the thing. You are educated. You can ask, technical, whatever around you. Put these things in writing. But it cannot just be right for you to have your wife, and sometimes the wife don't even attend the program, Ben. So
yeah, in this case, she did not attend.
Yes.
Yeah. In this case, she did not attend. And if this was not leaked, probably, it's not likely that he was going to reimburse the money. There's no proof to that. Now, what we're saying here is, and this is what our public officers understand now. If they get into controversy, give it time, they say people forget about it. Because now, everybody's talking about the demolitions. That's why we keep on saying, I keep on calling out this. Our opposition have to be proactive. This should have come to the House and to make a stop to it. This is the only way. When it happens, we have to make sure we put a stop to it and to look into it properly and to make sure there are reforms. I'll tell you, if you look at how much, and if you want to understand it, look at how much was cut from the budget when they say they're doing savings for the COVID. Millions of dollars were cut. And if we can function during COVID without traveling, why do we have to depend on travel? Why do we have to travel all the time? When what we manage it during COVID, we do not travel. Then why do we have to travel all the time? Because people will travel for anything just to make sure they make money.
And Ben, the argument Bakari is profiling in one of his interview with Omar Wali, it's just, what people don't know. There are a lot of background meetings that, just to, how can a minister?
But what's the value? What's the value of those? Look, exactly. Look at background meetings. What's the value of those background meetings?
Somebody in your ministry can even, Makafule in Tanzania, throughout his leadership as the president, he only traveled once out of the country. People are there that can be delegated.
Do you know what we call that? That's called fringe meetings. Fringe meetings doesn't benefit you. Fringe meetings benefit the lobbyists who want to lobby for something. There are fringe meetings. Either they want to lobby for policy, they want to lobby for business, they want to lobby for these fringe meetings. He cannot point to. People should ask, what have you brought back from any of this? What or your presence there, what value did it add to the mission? This is the question we should ask. We have to remember, and people claiming, he have been successful. Successful doing what? Is the Ministry of Youth and Sports about football? Football is with the GFA. Any progress with football should be given to the GFA and the decades of efforts done by a lot of people. And if you look at the football team, we should even turn around to the diaspora to say, thank God for Italy, thank God for other countries, thank God for the diaspora, because the team is made of people, talent from this. Yes, some of them started their development from the Gambia. And under who? Was not under him. How can he take credit for that? Let's take him protest something under his preview. Where are the stadiums that they said they inaugurated? Where are the stadiums? None have been delivered yet. Go and look at the state of those stadiums. Why not give us report on that? What else? Apart from sports, it's about youths. What youth development programs do we have in the Gambia?
None.
Now, how can we say that person has been successful as a youth minister? African qualification, it did not just happen within months. It's decade program. People went into academies. People went outside the country. Some people came from this diaspora who were born and bred and trained here to come and become the nation. Youths took the back way to get to Italy. They fought their way into big teams in order to have the experience to come in. Now, how can we take that credit and just say, oh, the minister have done well? What about the people who have been organizing local football, people who have organized academy, people in the GFA who have all the time spent their time and effort developing these people? We take the credit away from them. We can take the credit away from the footballers and we give it to a politician.
Yeah,
but what we should call the politician is something directly under his preview is the development of the stadiums. Look at the Independence Stadium. Because it's not fair. We want to support, because we support someone, we don't want to have we don't want to follow the person. We don't want to hold him accountable. That's why I said this thing should not stop with him and should not stop with him returning the money. This is about investigation, not about that the wife did not travel, have to return the money. Even the traveling is too much on officers. From borough down to the last person, we need to make sure that we have a way to evaluate what you're traveling for. Is it worth traveling for? Is it value? Is it going to add anything to us? What do they report back? What's their scorecards? If you don't measure something, hence we have a 500 million for traveling, we can spend it. And do you know that within their budgets, they do take money from other to put it to travel, these things, taken for training or other things and put it on travel. These are things we need to monitor.
Yeah, and Baba Balajo says, how about her air tickets from US to Turkey and Turkey to Banjul?
Who paid for that?
Yeah. Then and the NSC, the GNOC gave them nearly $7.5 million, to the National Sport Council. If you calculate £500 for Bakari and his wife, 300 and 200. For the duration that they spend there, that will be nearly over $1 million or whatever. Yeah. So if you take that out of the 7.5 million that was given to them for the entire everything, and he was kind of saying, the per are for our hotels, our expenses, and all those things. That is questionable, really speaking, Ben.
What would have happened if he did not travel? The Commonwealth still go on.
Yes.
Performance would not be hampered. It's not that because he's president, people perform better. No. Now, what 1 million, 1.1 million, how many people's salary is that?
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot. And then Ben, even we will be Gambia in the situation that we are. If younger politicians like Bakari and Oldo, who we expect to come and make difference, because we're saying the veteran politicians are so models, in the system that they cannot see in and out. Bakari, a young man, prospective, traveled here and there. We will expect even your paradigm. You just say, I have created this charity for this youth program and all those things. I'm going to give this money to those people, but not to twist the system. To use the loopholes, and without the uproar, these things will be buried. Nobody will know about it. The money is going to go.
People have moved on. This is the problem with Gambia. People have moved on. It will only be recalled again if someone have a debate with someone else. But for government, they didn't do anything about it. They moved on.
Yeah, but when and as you mentioned, the politicians, the civil society organizations, none of them are making this.
No,
They're not talking about
no,
this thing.
because of most
You
of
know,
them are guilty.
yeah,
They are guilty of what. That's why I said we have to investigate not only Bakari, but we have to try and get a scope of, let's say, 3 years. We have to look into all the people that travel within 3 years, and to amend, and so we can move forward. You see, because
yeah,
if you don't do that, they would not. They will not do it. People who benefit from the system would not change the system for you. It's for us to claim that Gambians have to stand up to reforms to happen. We have to force reforms. They are not going to do it for us.
no, no. Ben, and another disappointing thing is, when they asked Bakari, Omar Wali asked him about the land that was located to ministers. He said, that land, he went there once. They didn't give him the documentation, but yes, he went there to check it. But that land, he thinks he's not going to return it because government owns land. If government give them land, they will take it and all those things. So this is where the young man is coming. And I am just disappointed. Like all the young people,
No,
all the time. Go
no,
ahead.
look, bro. I am not disappointed. I am not disappointed. You see, what I keep on telling Gambia, we should have to see things coming. Now, Bakari went to Stanford as an independent, isn't it?
Yes.
Means that he was not. He doesn't want to belong to any of the established political parties, not only a government. Yeah. Now he went as independent, but the minute the government was kind of struggling with youth agitation from the 3 years journal, what happened? A delegation went to say that they are the Bakari team. They went to negotiate with government, this thing with government. And when people pointed out that something was up in offering, what did they say? Oh no, it's not that it's just about necessarily things. It's just about the 5 years. What happened? It's just about the 3 years position. Next minute, he came in as a minister. Didn't he campaign for Barrow's election?
Yes.
Would he not campaign for Barrow again?
Yes, he will.
And what was he standing for as an anti-establishment? He went into politics to be something else, not to bring about change. He knows that the system is rotten. He knows that he cannot change the system within. Whoever tells you that, I'm going inside to change the system is lying. They're going to join the gravy train. We have seen that from generations. Nobody can reinvent that excuse to sell it to people. You fool all of with some of people, but you can fool all of us. We have been here before. We have seen many forms of lobbying. And you expect that he would return that land? No. His name would not have even be in the list.
Yeah, Ben, and another question that we should ask, because our oversight bodies like the Public Account Committee of the National Assembly, they've not been doing anything, to stamp out corruption. Not only the executive, the politicians are not talking about it. The civil society organization seems to be in disarray now. It's only a few people in the diaspora that are, advocating this. And if we have all these aggregated people coming together to voice their anger, their frustration, probably those who are doing this will think twice before they do anything.
No, it's not probably. It's not probably. The agitation we do on social media, how many times did we stop government on their track? How many times did the government try to do a U-turn? Many times. Even Barrow going for holidays, he had to slam the brake. Then he had to try a PR to come to Banjul floods because of it's not politicians that agitated, it's from social media. That's why they don't like social media, because social media is the only tentacle opposition to them now. It's not probably it will work. But we don't do that. Now look at the audit reports. The Auditor General, I can tell for this thing, he has been the best we have ever have Auditor General. Is it because of social media now? Auditor Generals can put their these things out there. I'll tell you, but nothing is coming out of all these reports because of Parliament. So civil society and political parties should have been the agencies that should have made sure something comes out of it. Government would not ratify themselves. They will not do that. Government would not reform themselves. We have to do that for them. We have to force them to do that. That's the sad part of it.
Yeah, Ben, thank you so much. The Auditor General is a gentleman that I know. I was on the study on him. In terms of football, they were our brothers. From Gunjur, so I know him as a serious and very upright man. Since day one. So I'm not surprised in that sense anyway. And as you said, the social media also is good because people can put these things there, and government cannot easily ignore them. People can go over them and put pressure. We will talk about these things, whether it favors you or not. The few candid people, will be on public platforms and talk about, because what is happening in that country, we all know, is not going well. Even the ardent supporters of the government knows, that things are not working in the country, and the lackluster approach, to all the issues, the suffering, the death, and the sicknesses, the death, the cost of living, the electricity, the water that people are paying. I was charged nearly $10,000 for my water, and I'm just surprised, because the water is not there most of the time. But you asked a question and say who then approved, the £200 per night for Bakar Baji's wife, who do we know who approved these things?
Yeah, you see, that's why I said that's why we need an investigation. You see, Bakari cannot come out to us, and when he came out, it was a PR stunt. You have to go through, before a committee that have powers to question you, committee that have powers to access and subpoena other witnesses to come to them and answer these questions. That's the only way we can do it, and the system would be ratified. If not, it's going to continue. Somebody else is already in the air going to claim. You see? And we know some of them might live in hotels, but most of them would not even use a hotel. They stay with us.
Yes.
We know.
Yeah. Most of the time, yes. That's the norm. Ben, we're going to go to another of our topics anyway. That's what the Gambia Tourism Ministry and Tourism Board doing to promote Destination Gambia. We all know what is happening in our tourism industry. We all know that the Nordic leisure travel groups kind of going to stop. They complain about many things. You can tell us about those. But before going, once again, our viewers, thank you for being here with us. We are doing analysis of some of the current affairs in our country, with our brother Ben Suwareh. Thanks to him, and we are praying for his health, and he's continually being with us in health, so that we can expose these things, because what is happening in the Gambia are man-made. Is our own people that are destroying our country. Every country have their challenges, but if you have a country that are deliberately fighting against themselves, eating one another, they taking loans all over the world. When the loans comes, they just jump in it and scattered between themselves, greedily. So thank you once again to Baba Balajo and Maria Majuare. At least Bakar apologized and returned the money. Hamad Ban need to go, according to Mariama. Anyway, thank God, we have people on the social media that are putting a lot of pressure on Bakari. He cannot resist this. He said he didn't want to talk to any media house, but he couldn't. He said he couldn't sleep the fourth day. But thank God, we raise these things. Anytime we raise our voices, we are creating accountability. That is why it is important. People will say people are talking on social media too much and all those things, but these are the very people who were uploading the social media when Jammeh was there. And one of Jammeh's biggest pain was the social media, because they were exposing him and he couldn't get rid of them. He couldn't get hold of them. So this is important. Let's talk about these things. If not, Bakari will not going to return this money. We will not even know this, how the letter has been calibrated. We know they have been, this is a constructive way of, siphoning money from the government and make yourself where whatever you are. And he was talking about America. There's a lot of money and all that. I said, talk to those people who are in the Gambia. We all know we are in Europe here.
We know the struggle here.
Exactly, we all struggling here. So we are all struggling here. Bakari knows he was struggling. How can you just a multi-million land for free? How can you be paid, £500 or £300 per night? That's different from your salaries and all those things with all the perks that goes with it. And you're thinking there's a lot of money in Europe and all that. Yes, there's money here, but you got to suffer for it. Ben, so the tourism thing, let's come back to that anyway. And people are calling for Amadou Ba to go. Will he go? I don't think so. And no. I don't think Barrow will touch Amadou Ba also.
And this is the sad thing. Again, let's look at tourism. Ebrima, when Gambia decided to use tourism, when we had our independence, we have agriculture and technically peanut groundnut cultivation. Then the second thing we had was the re-export trade, bringing things through our ports and going through. Then Gambia innovated to pick up tourism. And people give you different dates when tourism started. But I can tell you that in Bakau, tourism started not the tourism we know of today, that people flying from Sweden coming. They used to fly to Dakar. French tourists used to fly to Dakar and travel by land buses to come to. There's a hotel in Bakau called Rivera Hotel. It used to be called Rivera Hotel. It's one of the oldest hotels you ever find in Gambia. But it's sad we don't have history in our country. And as kids, and this was in the early 70s. Rivera Hotel. There's, I think every Thursday, the buses will come to drop the tourists and pick the other tourists and go. But the Gambia government decided to develop tourism, and it became in Africa one of the biggest destinations. It was small, but it was Kenya and others to recognize as a tourist destination. If you look at the impact of tourism, to Gambia, look at Sweden today. If you check in Sweden, that in Nordic countries for that matter, not only Sweden, Nordic countries all, the presence of Gambians, most of it was because of tourism. The early people then went through tourism. You see? And I can tell you, and people just see the bad side of some of these things. The brothers we know earlier, and this was in the late 70s, who are graduates from Uppsala University, Gambians, went through, because of tourism, went to Sweden, Uppsala University and other universities and became graduates. Some of them are lecturers, and they retired as lecturers through tourism. We developed tourism to something else. But we knew what happened during the dictatorship. But this government came in to be 6 years now. Can one tell me anything they have done to revamp our tourism? Nothing.
Nothing.
Remember, they said that they had this project of ecotourism. They're going to build 5. They went and put the foundation stone. What happened? Corruption. Nothing. Not one eco lodge have been completed, and the money just vanished. And it went to the House of Parliament. What happened? Nothing. Hamad Ba did not even attend the House of Parliament. Now, this government went and introduced a form of levy, a tax, for people coming in and going out. People will remember that Yahya Jammeh did the same thing, call it environmental tax. What happened? He had to drop it when it was proven that it was affecting destination Gambia. But this government came and reintroduced that form of tax, saying security. What security? What extra security did they pay for? Nothing. Do we know where the money goes? Yes, we know. Do you know how we know? Remember the letter again, which was leaked when Mambu Njai asked the civil aviation to go and borrow money from the bank, because of the money collected was diverted where? To barrels of coffers. To barrels coffers. Go and let any Gambian show me where this money goes. They cannot prove that to you. It goes to barrels coffers. Now, this is harming us. Everybody said it's going to harm us. They ignored it. They have not developed. Remember, during Jammeh, we had the Roots Festival, isn't it? Even though it was not done right, it was all kind of propaganda selling one sector of our culture and whatever it is. But at least it brought a lot of tourists, I mean, African Americans and Black British and from the Caribbean into Gambia. But these people say they're going to revamp it. Did they revamp that? Remember, Ahmad Bat talked about, oh, we're going to revamp and have the Gambia National Troop again. Did we see anything?
No.
There's nothing this tourism department have done apart from getting involved in corruption, land deals and everything else. Now, you have a permanent secretary coming with a statement saying that we don't want all women from Europe coming for sex tourism. That's the most irresponsible statement to make as a policy officer. And still now they don't realize the damage they've caused. Ebrima, if you want to deal with something, you have to understand it and you have to find solutions to deal with it. It's not just to utter statements which are going to be harmful. Now, this is like painting every old person, especially women. He did not talk about the men, he talked about the old women. You see, again, it's the man's mentality. He did not talk about the pedophilia.
No.
Which is the real problem. We have seen investigations of pedophilia in the Gambia. This government have not done anything. And in fact, this government pardoned 2 pedophiles. Are they not encouraging pedophilia tourism?
Yes.
Have you ever had them done anything on pedophilia?
No.
That's the main problem we have in our tourism. Tourism comes with effects, there are certain effects, and sex is part of it. But to only alter statements doesn't make them to stop. Do you know what it stops? Other independent travelers that might not even engage in that, to think about, oh, if I go in there, they judge me as coming for sex. 1. 2, other people would say, look, oh, that's Gambia. You're talking about Gambia. Oh, the minister said that it's a destination for all women. Because that's the statement they said. Did he send any positive statement? No. He only said that Gambia, this is our problem. But did he said, oh, we are targeted. What did they do to target that market he was talking about? What products products do they develop? Look at our beach. Didn't they took the fish meal factories and pollute every environment?
Yeah.
The ecologue in Gunjur, ecologue in Katong and everything. Who wants to go there?
Nobody.
You see, because they did not care. You know what? When Gambia government want to use tourism to open up for higher clientele, what do? They, in the time of Sirif Sehuba Sise, as finance minister, they strategized. They went to the Nordic countries, Denmark, Germany, Norway, and others. This is why we have the Senegambia Hotel. This is why we have the Carabao Beach Hotel. And government then had ownership part of that. We had grants from those countries to build high-end hotels. You see, if you say you want high-end clients, you have to build high-end hotels. If you say you need high-end clients, it's competitive. When we were in the market doing things, Senegal was not into it much. Ghana was not into it. Cape Verde was not into it. All these countries were not even into all this. But today, Cape Verde is pulling 1 million. Ghana is targeting 500,000. Senegal is targeting 1 million. What are we targeting? If we say that we targeted, are we doing anything? Have we not seen the products that Senegal is offering? If you talk about culture, what did they promote about our culture?
Nothing.
Nothing. All our culture is Senegalese musicians. We have beautiful cultural musicians in the country. But the only time you see them is on political campaign. What did the minister of tourism, which is guardian of our art and culture, done for our people? You see, this is why we are at a failed state. They are all dropping their pants. Let's say it. We have seen the evidence. That's all they after. Making money for themselves, building houses, traveling, marrying wives from abroad, marrying young wives, and dropping their pants to other women. That's what they're doing. We cannot look at their records to say that they have done this. Tell me one project they have delivered. Where is
no,
the OIC?
no,
Did
no,
they
no.
cover the OIC again with all their foundation stones and inauguration? Where is the so-called Radisson Hotel? You see, this is what really gets to me. And Gambians, we sit and listen to these people and allow them to keep on doing what they do. When we spotted this, how many years did I spot out to say that this OIC is not going to happen? Because the incompetency and corruption, it's not magic. Everything in the country is ruined through two things: incompetency and corruption. They don't care about the people. They don't have empathy with the people. Now, this is where we are. Tourism is dead in the Gambia. Because people don't, you see, if you understand the amount of Gambians even traveling as tourists, are counted as tourists in the country now, you'll be surprised. Now, the flights that come from Nordic countries give opportunity to more Gambians even to travel. Imagine if there are no direct flights. You have to come to Belgium, you have to come to England in order to travel. It adds cost, it adds time, and this. What would motivate you to travel? You go to Gambia, look at our beaches. You go to Gambia, what do you travel to? Look at our traffic. Look at Gambia, look at the power state of the power supply. Look at the state of water. Some hotels would not even get water in their rooms. They struggle to pump enough water. Huh? How can we develop tourism? Nothing is developing in the country per se. Not only tourism, but tourism become worse because it had potential. It had potential.
Yeah, it has potential. Once again, greetings to copy paste. They say greetings to you all. Mariamas Jawara, my one wife says, side chicks. Some of them are side hens. I had a Nigerian comedy say, this age to this age, side chicks. Those are side hens. And others are dogs. Yeah, and copy and paste says, James Island and Kunta Kinte Island is now taken by the sea. Even the work is done completely. And Sela Bunja Sisa says, very sad, Nathan. Really, that's sad. Please, let's say this so that these programs can reach to other people. Especially those who are in the West and other countries that are doing well. We see how things are being managed. We see how people are developing. Not only we are retrogressing, in all departments, but this is costing life. Our people are dying on a daily basis. I have a cousin sister, whose husband got sick and the man died not long ago. She was in the hospital. The man will be pleading, for attention. The nurses will just close up and sleep. Those are the carers. The doctors were not there. At some point, he had to threaten them that I will take a picture of you and post it social media for them to dignify the sick person with their attendants, just to go and listen to him. What is his complaint is all about. What they were telling her was, this is our time to sleep. We are not going to wake up. That's how reduced our system is, around the country. So this is nothing to do with politics, but politics is the only thing that have a key to make Gambia vehicle to go forward. It's only politics. We have to write politics right. We have to have it right for us to be able to go forward. That doesn't mean we have to insult each other. But let's talk about issues so that our people can know. Look at all those towering people we were talking about celebrating in Jammeh's time. It's their sons and daughters and their wives and they themselves that are in the Gambia now going through the decrepit hospital. The economic base that has been destroyed, the lack of water, the lack of electricity. So if you are in Barrow's government now and things are going so bad for this country, it's either going to catch up with you very soon or your sons and daughters. You cannot be proud citizens of Gambia anywhere unless Gambia develops. We saw the Chinese now. Anywhere you go, everybody is talking about Chinese and doing it because the country has developed. When they were poor back in 1960s and 1950s and all those things, we were all disrespected equally until they just come up and develop their countries. And this country cannot be developed without having leadership to get it right. The passenger tax that is at the Banjul International Airport, Ben, this is other people coming to Gambia and they have alternative. Me, Gambia is my country. I went with my family, 6 of us. Entry 6,000 on top of our fare, our tickets. When we are coming back also, that's 12,000.
Yeah.
Me and my daughters and my wife going to my own country.
And if you have seen the value,
we are 6 of us, 12,000 in and out of the Gambia. So with tourists is going to bother themselves. Everybody is struggling. These tourists.
Why not? What you would if you are a Gambian, what would you get in Gambia when you can have it in Ghana or Senegal?
Exactly.
Or Cape Verde.
Exactly. You know, Ben, Cape Verde is about nearly 500,000 people.
Yeah.
You know, go to their tourism, how they craft things, how they dig into their hills and mountains and make it comfortable. So the place is quite clean. You know, nobody hustle you, nobody. And now they are finding scapegoat. They are saying all Brits, you know, asking the old women from Britain specifically, about nearly 40-something% of our tourism now come from
our
England.
biggest source of tourism.
Exactly. And you don't talk about the men and all those things, and you are what you are going to do to address some of the challenges of any development. Just go and find a solution to that. Why calling out Britain? You know, all women from Britain. That's for sex education.
What I'm saying is, what the statement going to do? How can that statement stop anyone coming? Are they going to check people that is it like Mecca now? If you don't have a husband or woman, you don't come to the Gambia. Is it going to be a policy?
No.
Because that's the only way. You say that if you are not accompanied, if you are not an accompanied a female, you don't come to the Gambia. If not, how are you going to stop it? I mean, there's a demand. I mean, why didn't we ask ourselves, why are our young men going after their grannies? They are not going for African grannies. Then there's a reason. Why didn't we ask why our young men and not going to African grannies? Why me and you are not doing it? Why they are not doing it? For them, they are going for young girls. You see? But to make that statement as a policy, you at the level of permanent secretary, and still now, they did not think of, we have to do a damage limitation. Let's send a message out there to clarify this topic. They did not talk about pedophilia. But again, you know, they're still trying to ignore this surcharge that is a problem. When a major destination said that I'm not booking any this thing for this winter, and you know, they don't do that. They won't just get up and do that. They must have consulted the government about this. And the government must have resisted, and they won't have an alternative because they are doing a business. Now, if I am going to book for Gambia, and booking Gambia is going to eat into my profits, why would I not divert another market? That's what they did. The tour operators are not working for charity. They are a business. Now, Gambia should be the country that creates a conducive environment for tour operators, and we should not even, Alaji, you see, I keep on saying this, be it our diplomacy and everything, and anything we do in the Gambia, we can have a diaspora initiative. Diasporans could have sell Gambia far better than any way they sell Gambia. We could have developed ways to encourage tourism. You see, far better. You see, I mean, there are many things this government could have done to encourage people to travel to Africa. I mean, to the Gambia. They haven't done nothing. Let one person give me one initiative they've launched in 6 years that encourage tourism apart from discourage tourism. Nothing. Nothing absolute. Nothing absolute.
Yeah, Sela Bunja Sisa says $1,000 is due at the airport arrival and departure are unlawful. He said morality and empathy has evaporated from that country since the beginning of the century. He said Gambian need to show up on our street to demand what's ours, and copy paste says, I wish I can send you the video of James Island It is very sad.
Yeah,
Please
I've seen it. I've
go
seen the video.
to GNO or One Gambia's platform and upload it there, and we will going to play
None
it.
none of our tourist side, be it Jufure, be it James Allen, be it Fort Blen, be it Katikali, be it Folonco. Tell me, go and see whether you have seen any improvement. Nothing absolute.
No, go to Folonco. It's dry.
Right.
And it's dry. The crocodiles, the crocs has evaporated. I don't know where they went. There's no water there.
Because of probably disforested.
Exactly. In December, we went there, and I was so proud because one of my daughter's name is Folonco, and we always call her Katom Folonco, Katom Folonco. Yeah. We want her to go there and see the beautiful environment. When I was young, from Gunjur, we just walked to Katom Folonco. When we see the white crocodile, we are pleased because our prayers are going to be answered. And we went there. It was dry. That place was dry. I don't know now because of raining season, the water. But before then, raining season or not, that place is full of water. And greenery is always there. But now probably the sand mining and all those things sucked the water out of it, and the crocodiles died, and we don't know where they went. So Sela Bunja says, Mr. Suwareh is my star for genuine analysis on Gambian affairs. Genuine. That's the key here all the time. We have people who are not genuine, who are doing things. They are jumping all over the place. Ben give it as it is. Whether it is Jawara, whether it is Yaya Jame or whatever, the benefit of that country, so that, on earth things, for us to think, this is our country. We owe everything.
But,
we have a leader.
Let me just give you an example of some of these things, how easy it would be. You see the cultural tourism. You have Sona Jabati, world renowned. You know that Sona does everything without any. I mean, this person should have been one of our focal points to sell Gambia. But she's selling Gambia without any support. And look at the projects he has in Gambia to promote our music. But no, there's a guy called Julde. What's his name again? He plays the Riti. Yeah? I keep on forgetting his name. This guy plays with Led Zeppelin. He goes into concerts that have millions of followers. He played with rock stars and blues stars, everything. We can arrange all this to get Gambia sold. If you know how many Japanese and other far countries come to Senegal because of their music, because of culture, and these people that go for culture and this kind of tourism, they are high-end spenders. They're high-end spenders. They are not this package tourists. They invest into their lifestyle. And this is how we can develop. We can do a lot. But what do we have? We don't even have a proper performance center where we can showcase our this thing. They haven't done nothing absolute. They don't have time for that.
And Ben, the comparison during Jawara time, no matter we have the misgiving about some of their downsides, they use the national troop, the cultural musicians, and they compete on behalf of the Gambia. Even Jaliba was used to promote Gambia. All the international competition, Jaliba will go there, with his Kora and sell Gambia, and he will win sometimes. Sometimes he will. So I think the PPP so far is the only government that have a direction, whether it is implemented or they have their issues. But all these ones, they just came.
You talking about Jaliba? I mean, before Jaliba, it was Jalinyama Suso.
Yes,
Jalinyama Suso was selling Gambia in Sweden. That's why many Swedes, in fact, some Swedes know Gambia because of the Kora, and they were traveling. And many jealous, for that matter. Jalinyama Suso was in Washington. You wasn't even lecturing music at Washington University for a griot who have not gone to school. But the value they have. You see, we could do a lot of things. We have many ways to do things. But this government don't open up. They just do everything political. And when you talk, they said you're talking about politics. But They are the one politicizing everything. How can you take a Ministry of Tourism and just give it to Ahmad Bah because he was an entertainer or an entertainment manager? And for the 5 years he have been there, nothing have improved apart from corruption. And we still maintain Ahmad Bah, just as we are doing with agriculture. As we are doing with agriculture, we give it to a politician. And with this time of talking about hunger and everything else, we decided to neglect agriculture again. What does this government take seriously? Look at our external affairs. The kind of clip of people we send in the external affairs. Look, Barrow doesn't care. We can talk, whatever you talk, they don't care. If you care, you have gotten the best of Gambians to serve you. Why do you always look for the worst of Gambians to serve us? He doesn't care. And because of why Gambians would, you see, we will be divided. Remember, I told you, when we're talking about tribe, I said, this is their strategy. It's a mechanism. Now, when they bulldoze those houses, did they go for the Mandinkas?
No.
Did they go for the Fullers?
No.
Did they go for the Wolofs?
No.
Did they go for the Jolas? No. They go for the people, us. They would never touch Hadim Guy. They didn't go to the we can go on. They don't care about us. You're talking about the hospital. Do you know they only have one microscope in their lab? Let anybody deny that. Let anybody deny that. I'll get the evidence. The Edward Francis Small Hospital. You said you going on to say that you're going to build a 500-bed hospital. In your main referral hospital, you have one microscope and it doesn't work properly.
Yeah, and the scanning machine, the only scanning machine got broken. It took about nearly months and months. The scanning has to be done in Senegal.
They cannot do any, there's no test they can conduct in there. No test they can conduct in there. Every time we hear, we're looking for blood or blood A. How even safe it is to take blood in that country? Because of, I know the rigorous checks the blood have to go through before it transmitted. Now, if you grab someone from the streets and just bring them in, are you actually really doing the screening properly?
No.
This is it.
Yeah. And Ben, that's another topic that we're going to, because people are just taken from the army camps and all those in blood taking, and that blood got infused into somebody who is sick because he or she need blood. We don't know whether they have hepatitis, whether they have transmitted AIDS, and all those things, because they just fake people. You will be calling
again. Let's come to the Jawara days. Let's come to the Jawara days. You will never hear they're calling out, we want blood this blood day. There was a blood bank. There was a blood bank. And they do their campaign, people go, the army used to donate and everybody used to donate. But you donate and it goes to the blood bank and it goes all the checks and the things and being dispensed. But now every time on social media, there's a woman giving birth, that needs blood. Now you rush someone there to give blood. How safe is that? Can someone tell me something that works in that country? One thing that works in that country.
Corruption. It's only corruption that works, only corruption. Once again, our viewers, thank you, for your patience and for being with us, to discuss issues that concern all of us. Wherever you are, 99% of who you are, your family, the extended family, the immediate ones are in the Gambia. This is why whatever happens to them pains us here. And we have a government or leadership that is indifferent to our pains and our suffering on home fronts, and what they do very well, and it works for them all the time, is to divide us on the tribes, on the regions, and all those things, and they don't care. But you have the cabal who are sitting on top of everybody, looting that country, sucking our bloods to dry. Nothing from water, from sanitation to everything in hospitals and all those in the dates and everything is falling apart. And what we do well is to come and defend people who are destroying us and our future, and then across political life, the oppositions are not working. They're not doing what they should do. Most of the civil society associations get discouraged. Some of them has been the journalists and all those things have been coopted in because, they have been starved. Poverty is used as a weapon in that country so that nobody criticizes. Those who criticize, they just go after you with money and all those things so that you can keep quiet. Mansour Mane says, as long as this government is in charge, we will move from one scandal to another, and we will continue to retrogress. And Baba says, to be honest, Gambia has nothing to offer tourists. All the interesting places have been vanished. I would like to have Baba here, to discuss about some of these, tourist infrastructures, that he's talking about. And he said, copy paste says Mr. Ben is our role model. No doubt about that. And Lampard Barry said, Mr. Janneh and Suwareh, even today I was discussing with someone that the Gambia is not serious towards people. We're not serious, and my own brother and cousin say absolutely nothing is going well there. Only corruption and selfish ministries, But that is Lamin Dabo is my cousin brother. Then,
Ibrahim,
yes.
before we move on, can Gambians just think about this? Did you hear about tribalism again after elections?
No.
Then who was putting this into people's head? So they just evaporated now.
Yes, we're not talking about that anymore.
That's why I tell people, stop reacting. Let's use our senses and talk about the issues. They want to distract us. You don't hear them accusing anyone of tribalism now. And look, if we look closely, what is going on is the nepotism in the appointments and everything. Nepotism. But those people who were accusing the opposition and us for tribalism, now they are the one practicing nepotism. Because what they're doing, I don't call it tribalism, it's nepotism.
It is nepotism, yes.
Yeah.
It is nepotism. But because what we need to understand, majority of either Mandinkas or Fullers or Wolofs are the same people that are dealing with the day-to-day inflation and the cost of living in that country. Yeah. The Narek, the disruption in water and all those is affecting everybody. Those who are in the rural area, they don't even have them. The victims are the people who are in the capital area where electricity is up and down and there's no well or whatever. They, the rural people, they don't even care because it's not even there. And this is is a mixture of all of us. We are so connected to the extent that, to see even a Gambian, who is not crossed, who is not mixed, one way or the other, you will find that very, 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 very difficult to see. So these politicians has failed spectacularly. One thing that they think they can play with our minds, because they think we are foolish and they are better than us, is to tell us Mr. X surname is this, Mr. Y surname is that, Mr. W surname is this, and you don't know the genesis of those surnames anyway. My grandmom is a Fuller, a pure Fuller, but I am Janneh, and somebody will call me, you are Janneh because you are Mandinka. How can I hate Fullers, when my dad's mom is a pure Fuller. So this is how this tells the story of that country. So politicians just fail. That's the bottom line. Yeah. And if people fail, they bring all these side effects, side issues, and bring them on the table so that we can forget about the corruption. We can forget about the failures that we are seeing. We can forget about the daily suffering of our women who continue to succumb to blood, lack of blood, and they're dying on a daily basis. Every day, 3 days back, a young woman, beautiful. If you see her picture, you just cry, died because she is bringing somebody to life. Lies and deception in that country relate. Even the president will be so comfortable that we are so foolish to the extent that he is saying we are going to water your gardens, vegetable garden, with a remote, with a mobile. That's how comfortable lies has, ensconced in that country. He said self-enrichment schemes at the expense of the public. Food prices have hit the roof, and this is affecting across board everybody. Remarkable moral decline. Our young people have been butchered by our own people, the so-called powerful people. These are not tourists coming out of our country and battered our own people. These are our ministers. These are our managing directors that are playing with young people who cannot even afford a sanitary pad to continually go to and attend their schools. Those are the people. Anybody who is a little bit fair in complexion, a little bit model and all those things, they just go after them, tempt them with money that they can kind of and destroy them. This is our country. That is why the permanent secretary of tourism ministry should know it's our own people.
Thank you,
It's
thank you.
our own
You know,
ministry.
that's the irony when the minister of Ebrima Sila, Ahmad Ba, and many others. I'm telling you, there are so many of them. New these things out there exposed, and these people are talking about British tourists. What about our own infidelities everywhere?
And then the former KMC, I saw her nude pictures and
So
all
many
those
of them.
things. You know, the number of nude pictures that are coming.
But they choose to talk about old women coming from Europe.
Yeah. But Ben, you know, we're going to move to the domestic grievances on the rise. You know, because you know, Gambians, we say they're peasant and all those things. But what is the challenge that people are facing is likely going to affect that country big time. I have somebody that write on the Open Gambia said the nation need to raise and say enough and demand better leadership. You know, because it is only leadership. You know, anytime people will bring other arguments, is our attitudes, is these things, and all those things. You know, what is the fact is only the government, the leadership, that has the power of the constitution back them, that have the power to use the aggregated money, the tax that we paid, anything that we contribute to that country, to use it to make an impact. Is the government, you know, and the machinery of the government that has the power to arrest, to stamp and forcefully stop things or make things happen. It's only the government that have the key, that has the power, you know, that have the support of the whole country to change the status of the Gambian people. So anything that is wrong in that country, being in attitude, being in whatever people want to bring, those are periphery. The issue is our government need to have to be equipped enough to deal with the challenges of the country, because it's only them that can make changes. Even if you have the wherewithal, if you have the money to pave the road where your compound is, for example, my place is all messed up, you know, because the trucks pass through that road, you cannot go there. It's inaccessible during the rainy season. Even if I have the money to do it today, if the government don't want it, I cannot do it. That's how powerful our government is. It is only them that can make changes. Any challenge that is in the country, however difficult that challenge is, it is only the government that can have a solution and the power to change it. That's why we have to, you know, the book has to stop with the government. You know, so Ben, you know, these domestic grievances is coming up because life is so difficult. Things are so out of control. And the lackluster, the indifference of the leadership, of our pains and the sufferings that is going on in that country is beyond imagination. But this is an active time bomb, Ben. Don't you think so, as a security point of view?
Yeah, Ibama, you know, when you talk about the national security, people think about the army and other things. But I tell you, the most destabilizing factor is civil unrest. Because when civil unrest happen, to a magnitude, it might be disastrous, especially if there are other factors present already. It might, this is what turned out to be civil wars and others. Because we know when the center that holds just collapses, anything can happen. Who's going to restore order? How are we going to restore order? You see, Gambia, we have got to a level that you have to look at what mechanism do we have that will help to restore order. It's technically all tainted. Because what we have is, we have the public sector, you have the private sector, and we have the civil society. Yeah? But what the state did was to mine and even corrupted all these institutions. I'll tell you, look at how civil society operates in the country. Technically, the well-intended civil society are not empowered. They are discouraged. But there are so many so-called civil society which are just extension of government efforts to control. It's the same thing about with in the public sector. If you come to the opposition, that's the problem we have. How many so-called opposition parties you have? We all know they are not opposition parties, but government created them, or government works with them to do what? That's why they call themselves a coalition. to undermine the public sector. Look at what they did to Parliament. Openly going to bribe Parliament. Now, our religious leaders. Now, if something happens, who do you expect to maintain calm? Nobody.
Nobody.
Now, this is just why it's dangerous to talk about bring about polarizing the groups into ethnicity. You see, when the government lose control, then if you're not careful, those rivals might come head on, thinking of, oh, we have to go for the power grab now. It's an opportunity to go for the power grab because this is not about being voted in now. We have to show our presence, our strategic advantage in the army, or our strategic advantage by population wise, or our strategic advantage because of locations. We are these things. We have to go and you see that's what happened in Guinea-Bissau. Now, why are these things important? That's why demonstrations are important and should be allowed to be taken. You see, demonstration help to calm the situation, in fact, and allow the authorities to take note of people's grievances. And the country should be happy that people are thinking of organizing themselves to agitate or do something. What we should be very wary about is the anger bubbling from the different corners. Lack of jobs, some cost of living, insecurities, NAWEC, airtime, everything else, home demolitions, flood victims. And one small thing break the camel's back and all these people come out without any form of leadership. We are in trouble. And Gambia, it seems that's where we are going because the opposition is not active, holding the government accountable, making sure government bad hands are held and the good hand is forced. That's not happening. Now, civil society, as I said, is dysfunctional. Now, people, are relating in a different manner. Now, Barrow and their people, they don't care. They're doing what they feel. If they have this government taken any steps to try to cushion it's not only affecting Gambia, but what responsible government would do. Then Barrow should have prioritized agriculture and made sure the agriculture department gets the personnel that they need, not a political appointment because of their campaign for you. Make sure they got the resources they need. It takes about 60 to 70 days for most maize and coos and something to be planted and to be harvested. Now, did we have any drive to produce more? Did we have any drive to produce more rice? No. Instead, what do we have? Increase the fertilizer. And they said, oh, because it's expensive, we cannot subsidize it. But they can subsidize what per diems. I'm not talking about Bakari's per diem only, but Barrow is going to a trip again. Go and find out how many people are traveling with him. Go and find out how much it's going to cost him. I'm not saying he should not travel, but you'll be surprised how many people will be traveling with him. And they're going to New York again. Again, they wanted to take a delegation, but the US embassy denied them visas. Do you know why? Because the first lady went to America recently and took people that have not returned.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because of that, apparently the second lady will be traveling this time around with the president. That's what they agreed. And they are not going even with protocols. And many people that wanted to go in the trip are not going for the per diem hunting. Then if the US did not deny this visa, how many people will be going? And Barrow going to Tunisia, how many people will be going to Tunisia? How many people does he need to go to Tunisia? These are areas that we could have saved money to put it into agriculture. We are talking about youth joblessness. But most of us come from agricultural background. Did we make agriculture appealing for youths to participate? Look, we cannot blame the youths that are not engaged in agriculture. If you look at the youths engaged in agriculture without the support they need, would you go into agriculture?
No.
No. I know so many, and you know so many youths. Not only from the Gambia, youths that left or people that left the diaspora and went and invest in agriculture. did we see them giving incentive to develop agriculture? No. Now, if these people were given the incentive, then other people will follow through. But tell me, give me one example of this government, again, just as we tested in tourism, that they take an initiative. Apart from the projects, and those projects are not sustainable, they don't last because of its initiative from outside. Try to, okay, we put it to gumworks, we put it to this, we put it to this, no sustainability, it fall off. Why can't government study to see how can we feed ourselves? If we produce, look at the COVID money, and we still find out that the COVID distribution, almost how many million is not distributed? Where is the money gone? It's gone. When we are telling people that this money is already been shared among party supporters, people thought that we politicize things. But why did we need to give people one bag of rice when we could provide? Most of these people are farmers. We could have provided a means for them to produce, make sure within 6 months they have more than one bag of rice to feed themselves. But no, it's lucrative for them to patronize their private sector that import rice, and they can do corruption and everything else. Until the government do the right thing, we are not going to get out of this hunger. And we don't expect to be given loans, we don't expect to be given grants, we don't expect to be given aid to think that it's going to develop us. This government have an opportunity. When we took over, we had how many tractors taken over from Yaya Jammeh? What happened to those tractors? They sell it among themselves, and they end up selling it even outside the country, to Senegal. Why didn't we use those tractors to organize the people? What have this government done? The fertilizer contracts, everything is about corruption is for them. The first time, the second time, the third time, the president said it himself that they are taking fertilizer, taking it to Senegal to sell. Did he reprimand anyone for that? No, because of he himself is part of the problem. Now, we have to tell Gambians again, your suffering will not stop. You have the powers to stop it. Government have to be forced to do that. Either you stand up for yourself, because we are advocating, and if we advocate that go out, they say, oh, you're sitting there in your comfort zone, go out. But I mean, we are going to face this. One way or the other, there will be going to be a day of reckoning. And it's unfortunate. The leaders don't see that coming. They are building their mansions. Imagine someone like Sidin Jai have built 2 mansions within 5 years. One in the rural area, one in the urban area. Now look at, this is what is happening. But people are getting poorer, people are suffering more, police officers are suffering, but the same police officers will be sent to brutalize the people. When I was just talking to a friend of mine today, that friend have to start paying almost $6,000 to the maid just to adjust. And she is providing more for that maid. How many police officers are earning $6,000? What about our teachers? Those nurses that are not motivated or doing the wrong thing, go and find out, what conditions they are. But we can spend our money on per diem. We can spend our money on first-class ticket. I tell you, Barrow is going to hire an aeroplane. Why did we not have other things in place? Look at the budget for State House. Why do we have the budget for State House? Why do we create all these ministries? You know, they created that Ministry of Public Service. Now they realize that it's a duplication. Now they are annexing the PMO into public districts, because there was a reason we don't need a Minister for Public Service, because the PMO was already there doing that job. It's done better at that level than a ministry. Now they are so confused. Now they have the Minister of Public Service, they have the Secretary General, and they have a Chief of Staff. Now all these three even their jobs are overlapping. They don't know who is who.
Yeah.
They just want to create jobs for others.
Yeah.
Instead of spending the money on things that will develop this country.
Yeah, Ben, and what people need to understand, why the government. This is not about Barrow. Most of us support Barrow. We divorce with our money, our earnings in here to support Barrow's campaign. When we were fighting against Yaya Jammeh, We came out and talk about what Yaya was doing, just for the sake of the country. If he was doing good, we will all be happy and thank that our country is developing, because all of us, even today, we keep dreaming, even though those who are here for 50 years are saying they are going to pack up and go home. The home you want to go when you retired or when you are weak, should be a home that should be able to accommodate you. So that's why we are pleading to leaders and challenging them so that they can do right for the sake of everybody, so that the suffering, the death, so that the poverty, all kind of issues that we are having in that country, they can mitigate them. The government can come and at least let us be seeing our government coming out and do something. That's what we want, so that we can have a better country there. But then even the debt, the national debt is so much to the extent that, our country we cannot pay it back. The Gambia cannot pay it back. I think you allude to this, and these are some of the issues, and they are piling up, but the moment the money comes into that country, it just disappears into thin air. We can pray for how much we want. Our prayers are not going to be answered. We can read the Quran. We can pray the whole night. As far as the immorality, the corruptions, the lootings, the injustice that is going in the country, the spectacular failures of our leadership, as far as things persist as how they are, no amount of our prayers is going to salvage us. No amount of our reading the Quran or reading the Bible or whatever is going to save that country. What we need to do, God has given you the aptitude and all the chemistry that we need to come together and do right. When you don't do right, you're not going to benefit from the fruits of doing right. As simple as that. And to start this, we need to have a very good leadership. Once again today, viewers, we are discussing the current affairs in the Gambia. This has nothing to do with Barrow himself as a leader, or this has nothing to do with politics and all those things. What we want is for our leaders to at least, wake up and see the challenges that our country are facing, that our people are dying. Any little decision that they do, our people are dying. If you buy a Hummer or all these fleet of cars that, high-end cars that is following the Barrow when he is touring the country from one place to the other, even in the raining season, when people get flooded and you are going into the flood with all this water almost consuming your convoy, any of those decisions that you take, any of those cars can build a good market in Brikama, so that our people, our food that can be safe. It not happen. I see the Zambian president is saying, one of the mayors, the car that you bought can build 3 first-class market or even more with drainage, with decency, so that our health, all these sicknesses can be reduced. But no, this is what we are talking about. Any leader that comes, when you do good, Gambians will be happy, because we want that country to develop. Gambians has developed individually as persons to another level, but the country is dragging back because of failure of leadership. So this is what we are discussing. There's no better Gambian to discuss these issues than Sulayman Ben Suwareh, because of his uprightness, because he is not blaming for the sake of blaming, because he is seeing Gambia. And record-wise, he has been doing this for long time. And what he is doing behind the scene, you may not know, but some of us are privy to it. And Mr. Lampard Barry says, you can also discuss about our markets, where we get our food. So sad. Barrow can't lead a simple, someone who can even read properly. You expect that country to move. Stupid ideas, sorry for that way. People are turned to hopeless people. I meet young people in Germany here. They told me they never go back to the country. That is Gambia. Well, you can go on and go on and go on and go on, that people are saying. Then, from there, let's go to our education system. About nearly 70%. That's too much. Or even more of our students that sadly our white exam just came out with failure. I saw some people that have fantastic results other than maths and English, but they fail maths and English. It seems everybody seems to be failing maths and English, but you make a quotation like you sort on your headline some thought on the recent education result. You say the skills, knowledge, and innovation that people accumulate are the greatest assets of economies on the rise. Smart and timely investment in human capital will play a central role in shaping the trajectory of African nations in the coming decades for several reasons. These include large youth population in many countries and rapid growing and all those things. Then you are talking about skills here, but you said without a greater supply of homegrown talents in areas such as agriculture, energy, extractive industry, construction, manufacturing, and information and communication technology, it will be hard to build progressive, inclusive, and resilient economy that can compete and succeed globally. So Ben, our failure here is not only the students, but anything.
No, the failure is leadership.
Exactly. Whatever is stated here, is not been provided in the Gambia, and we accept better results. Go ahead.
And let's put it this way. And what I want to first say is, if any Gambian think that is weak, when you compare places, we think that we cannot do it, then the person doesn't understand development. Let's look at Turkey. Yeah, compare Turkey to Saudi Arabia and other countries in the Middle East that have more money than them. Did Turkey not have more influence than them? It's because of education. Let me give you this thing. After the Second World War, when the Ottoman Empire collapses, the leader, Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, decided that he have to come back to their boundaries and do what? And reform. And in order to reform, what did he do? Secularism became the cornerstone. Because he wanted to find a way to get the inclusiveness. It's very important. They include everyone. And part of the inclusiveness with secularism, do you know what he championed? Women emancipation. Women. Their right to property, right to education, which is what Islam taught us anyway. Yes. Right to education, right to property, and everything. That is progressive Islam. The third thing was what? Education. And do you know what education? People were studying classics and every other thing. He turned the universities into vocational training centers. In Istanbul's university. Today, any innovation that even if they don't create it, if they buy let's say they buy a missile system from US, guess what? In 3 years, they will develop their own. Equally sophisticated or even more sophisticated than the US. If they buy from Russia, they will do the same thing. Look at the drone technology today. They are supplying European countries. If they want anything, if it's maritime, they have their own factories do it. Today, they are competing China in the sense that they are producing anything China produces. Now, African markets are diverting there. Now, they are getting into African markets like China is doing. And if it was not for the leadership that makes sure they had their reforms and had education at the cornerstone, it would not have happened. Ibrahim, what did this government do for education since they came in? Nothing. You see, again, before you decide a problem, to deal with a problem, you have to study the problem. You have to review it. And then you come with a plan. Tell me, this education, what did they do? They went into the same Yaya Jammeh book. Yaya Jammeh have a university, we have to have a university. I am not saying that we should not have a university for science and technology. But before you have a university for science and technology, you are not producing students that are passing maths, that are not passing technology, that are not passing science. You are talking about passes. How many of those people have maths and science and technology? Now, which university are they going to go? Now, where are we going to get the students to go to this University of Science and Technology? We know that these subjects are complex and difficult subjects. They need investment, they need priority. We need to train our teachers. We need to invest in resources at the primary level, not even secondary. Then, if we had reviewed Just as you remember, the Labour government did educational review programs because of it was one of the priorities, and they decided to introduce it. And we need to, because our educational system is so distorted. We don't even have a system. We have many tier systems. We have to bring things back to so that people to understand it. There's a lot we can do. We can do a lot of innovation where the education can be quality and accessible. But now it's education between the poor and the this thing. Go and look at how many of those students that passes come from missionary schools, either from Ahmadiyya schools or Christian schools, or they come from the private schools. If you go for the public schools, I'll tell you the fail rate is about 95%. Now, it's just imagine then the poor, you are depriving the poor people for education. How can we going to develop?
Yeah, but Ben, because 75%, over 70% of the private students pass.
Yeah.
Yeah, and 75% overall of the non-private students and some of these faith school fail. Yeah. So that explains the story. Anyway, good night to my cousin Lamin. It is late in Belgium, so he's going to go to bed anyway. But yes. So but thank you for being with us all this while. And so that tells a lot, Ben. The private sectors over 70% pass, but but you also explain the colonial educational system fit for administration and all those things in one of your posts. Even those private students, like you said in China, where you have I don't know the term, walk and learning, schooling or whatever, the marriage of those, but we are trying, because there's still public administration in the Gambia, and those are colonial subjects. Gambia don't need that. We have school gardens, school farms, and all those things. They are all destroyed. Go ahead, Ben. And you talk about one mister who died in a motor ride accident, and his vision and all those things. Go ahead, Ben.
The article is written by Tony Cisse, by the way. I just published it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let me give you an example, Alaji. Ibrahim. You see, education, when we create our things, is to serve a purpose. You see, that's why people can be educated in different ways, because we all have different abilities. That's why I am a dropout from secondary school, but I managed to educate myself. You see, I don't have a complex from someone who graduated from somewhere else. I can hold my own where I need to hold my own. Now, when you look at let's give you the United Kingdom. The curriculum change when they went to the during the First World War. Do you know why? They realized now the amount of people, youth and children, that needed to be developed so that they can prepare to fight. That's why even the physical training curriculum have to be developed in the schools, so that children will start to take risk and do assault course and things like that. And all the programs have been integrated to inform, to prepare them for what they will need them. You see, at any time that they look at, they evaluate and see what does our market need. Now, in the Gambia today, we should look at what does our market need. We need to produce science students so that we can have technology-based economy. These are the things we should do. We should prepare for this to produce food, agriculture. These are the things we should target. But look at how many lawyers are we producing? How many other management subjects are we producing? What are they going to manage?
Nothing.
You see, because some of these subjects are easily taught. They are theories. They are easily taught. You don't need a lab. You don't need to invest in many ways. And that's why we producing these things. When did we last look at our curriculum? When do you hear about curriculum office anymore?
No.
No, it's just jumbled up. Anybody can build up a school and so-called supervisory. There's not less supervision. This thing. Even the private schools you're talking about, they are producing students because they are teaching them to pass exams. Mm-hmm. They are not been educated. They are teaching them to pass exams. You find out schools, students now having 4 or 5 different teachers. One teaching them maths, one teaching them English, one teaching them science. And everything is due to what past paper, going to past papers, preparing for exams. They prepare exams all the course of their to pass. Are they educated?
No.
They are not. This is where we fail. We need to review our educational curriculums. We need to be realistic and look at areas that we need to develop. We need skills. Alaji, who is Ibrahim? How are all these youths going to find employment when they don't have skills? There are a lot of jobs in the country, but you need skills to do those jobs.
Yes.
Now, GTTI was one area that was doing well. We should have invested in more GTTI. Every division should have a GTTI. But what did they do now? They integrated GTTI into what the University of Science and Technology. Now, the skills that we're talking about, we are not producing them. Now, this is where our problems are, because we just want to say that Barrow to have a university. We have an existing university. We know the challenges in that university. If we cannot cater for that university, students are not catered for. Why do we start another university? To say that we have a second university? And then this is where the problem is. The politicians, the leaders are not interested. Because you know why? Their children, their wives, they themselves, they believe are not affected. Because they can go to private school, they can send them abroad to study, they can go for private hospitals, they can send them abroad for treatment. They can afford any food they want to this. But the failure of this education would be measured to the crime rate. Will end up producing more children, youths that will end up in committing crimes, and they cannot avoid that. They cannot insulate themselves when the country is destabilized or the crime rate is building up.
Yeah, Ben.
And for leaders, we expect them to make sure they create an environment where people can meet their potential. Some people will be good at sports. Some people will be good at academic. Some people will be technical. Some people would be something else. That's why we need to look at the range of education that we need to have and see what our market is asking for. Gamtel started a school. Where is that school? You see, this First Republic was thinking along these ways that the industries were going to produce. This Gambia was producing their technicians and other things. The Gambia Hotel School was one of the best. From front office to cookery to other areas. We have been produced.
Then even secondary schools, I remember Gunju Secondary School, there's a metal work department, there is a woodwork department, and they all are equipped.
Yeah.
They even make their own chairs and tables and all those things at those places, And I know people who went through that. Now they are full carpenters, carpenters, they mechanics and all those things because they went through the secondary school curriculum. But at least the force, I think the PPP government with all their failures, but they have a vision that they're following. Greetings to Alassane Kamara. It's a very interesting and important topic. But when time is going, I want you to sum up these things quickly. The social security and housing finance Jaba estate. We also or see what is happening on Facebook. People's house and homes and whatever is being demolished. When Mr. Dabo said he got his place from Social Security, let us know about Ben. What is your thought on this and what is going on here, briefly?
And again, what I'm saying that you see, if Gambian people don't rise up, get up and fight, they will just be abused. It's a complete abuse of power. And I'm going to play this for people. I'm not sure you heard it. The policy, this is a policy dictated by the vice president, which is completely wrong. Just listen to this.
Yes.
And people will see the vice president. Wait.
Their fences should not be there. They backfill even the waterway. Because they knew that they're going to have a problem with water. So they had to raise it up against, our wish, and we suffer.
So it means if they remove the back,
Yes,
the water will pass.
absolutely. No, if they remove, if you go further, you can see where the water is coming from.
Yeah.
You see, the water coming from is coming as far as Old Yundum, as far as Tautu.
Yeah.
So it's coming all the way from there.
Yeah.
I used to remember when I was a kid, we used to come here and play. So this used to be a big riverbank all the way down to, Tujereng, Madiana, and all that. It goes into the sea. But because of the development, and some of the developments, I doubt if they have any formal permit to raise this thing, where they are inspected when this work was up. So this is what is happening. So year on year, we have a little problems, and now it's escalating. Some of us who were victims of flood, we are victims now.
There's the minister for development always.
Yeah.
I think, sorry? Communities there in the schools.
Even our mosque is abandoned. Our mosque is abandoned.
Yeah.
Sorry for this.
Yeah, I think the governor of and the municipality, I want to see them.
Can you call the governor?
And where's the chairman?
Again, what can make the recognition that the areas?
I think, he is explaining that some people did some backfilling and build walls, and therefore it has affected the waterway. All right. So, fiscal planning, whether it's at the level of the governor's office, but also mandated by the ministry, should come and survey this place. And if they are not in compliance with any building permits or any permit to raise anything, they should demolish it and allow the water to move. All right? Because I understand it was well done, but it was a deliberate action by the people. The people also have to understand that you don't only look at your interests, look at the community's interest, the national interest. The estate.
Alaji, did you hear that?
Oh
This guy is the most reckless. God forbid this person become a president. He's a dictator. He took an opinion from a conflicted person who is affected by the flood. And at the spot, he invited the minister and physical planning. That's how they took the decision.
Oh my God.
You hear that yourself?
Oh my God.
How can a vice president take a decision at the spot? This guy is delusional. This is the worst person. If he becomes, I'll tell you, Barrow is better than him. If he becomes a president, imagine what he's going to do. If you come and tell him that youths are the one that shot someone there, he's going to go and shoot all the youths. Literally, that's what he did. Now, let's bring this to perspective. Alaji, first, government allocate land to Social Security.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Now, Social Security is a state, we call it a state-owned enterprise. It's an institution of its own. Yeah? They have the expertise and they have a mandate. They are responsible body. Now, the government said that you can take from point A, B, and C. And that government is represented by the local government ministry and lands and the Department of Surveys and Physical Planning.
Physical planning, yes.
Now, these people should supervise anything that goes on that land from when it was demarcated to ensure that the groundworks have been carried out by Social Security. Isn't it?
Mm-hmm, yes.
Social Security do the groundworks, and what the groundworks mean is to make sure roads are demarcated, make sure waterways are created, and stuff like that. Yeah? Now, and make sure the other amenities like markets and schools or wherever are demarcated. And that has to be done with physical planning and surveys. They cannot do it without them. Let's not have that clear, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if Social Security does that, they give this land to the people. Yeah? But if the people even get this land before they build, they have to comply. Social Security should make sure that everybody given the land have complied with building regulations.
Yes.
If at any time of your development it's monitored that you haven't done what you should do, they will stop you. That's the way it should work. Now, if something become a problem, who would you blame?
The authorities, the social
Thank you.
security and all
Social
that.
security and the government.
And the government,
But
the
not,
fiscal plan, yes,
not the people. Now, let me tell you another thing. Again, I've shared that audit report. This is not Ben Suwareh saying it. These are, let me show you, the audit report which I shared. Many people have seen the audit report. By now, it's on my page somewhere. But let me just tell you what the audit report said. And the audit report is by Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation. They did an audit report in 2016. Do you know why? They gave the job for the groundworks for the contractor Hadim Guy. They gave Hadim Guy the contractor open up the roads and do the culverts. What do they call them again? They for the construction of roads and culverts. The culverts, where the water goes to be done. But this guy has not executed the job, and he has not paid the tax. They gave him back the tax money, just as they did in the Banyan project, and he has not executed the work. Why did they not hold this person accountable? And Social Security knew that because of this audit report was commissioned by Social Security. And the same audit report was taken to the Janneh Commission, and Hadim Guy was reprimanded by the Janneh Commission not to be given contract again, but this government gave him now more contracts than ever. Now, the government there is to be blamed again. And Ibrahim, now the fraud happens. What is the responsible thing to do? Why can't the government go and survey properly?
Exactly.
By professionals.
Exactly.
And look at way to mitigate the problem. If they have to, they might look at different things, and the last resort might be demolition.
Mm-hmm.
But that demolition too has to be through the same due process they followed. Exactly. They will require a court order.
Court order, yes.
Then when they have to, even that court order, Alhaji, these are citizens, these are human beings, empathy to arrange way to carry this, not to humiliate people, not to give them distress. The parents could have died.
Yeah.
By heartache. Because imagine that's where life work. Your whole family been homeless. But all this should be followed. And these people have not done anything wrong. If they built on that land, they were given that land by Social Security. This is not an alcalo giving them land.
No.
This is not them buying land from someone else. They bought it from an institution. They should be treated with respect. They should be treated with dignity. They should use the rule of law to make sure due process to make sure they've done everything right. Everything should be done judiciously. But they disregard that. The vice president stood there and took a layman's opinion as an expert opinion. And he gave orders. We had it there. Nobody tell you that it's the fault of physical planning. It's the government itself.
It is.
And you see them, they bring our police again to confront. Why can't he just all done civilizedly? Now, I know if I was one of these victims, I would go to the courts and Social Security would replace every damage, distress, and everything should be paid. And they will win their case. They have a case. But again, Gambians would stand back. And Gambians would stand back and look at the victims and watch the victims just as we are watching the Gambia victims. This is where the Gambia problem is. If we don't stand together, we will keep on. And the irony is here. In our national pledge, he said we walk in unison together. Because if it's not direct with the things, if we walk apart, we'll fail. And this is what is happening. This should be outrage. This should not have happened. We could have stopped this and forced the government, but we have not had the opposition. We have not seen any civil society. And the victims have to deal with this. And the government will be encouraged because of nothing will come out of it. But I hope these people organize themselves and take this Social Security to the courts. They cannot just lose their life earning and they go through this distance and everything else. But if we stand back and watch this, it will be someone else. Alaji, why didn't they not go to the Tanbi and bulldoze the petrol stations, bulldoze all those structures? No, they will not do that. They will always find an excuse for their own people. Now then, Gambians now should realize this again. When they went to Jabang, did they ask for the Mandinkas?
No.
Did they ask for the Fullers?
No.
Did they ask for the Wolofs? No.
No.
They just looked at it that, they are not ministers. They are not permanent secretaries. But these are technocrats. These are citizens that work hard for their money and to try to build, to be part of that Gambia. Now they are depriving them of that dignity of building their own homes. And Ebrima, most of these people managed to build this probably when they were just married, or they were not married, or they just have one kid. But over the years, they have more responsibility. You think they can build another house?
No, not of this nature. No. Most of them, no.
Now, this is where the problem is. The government cannot justify it, and no human being can justify this. They have not followed the due process. And as I played that recording, that's a proof that this is how the decision was taken. This is a proof. We all heard it. We all see it. This vice president is useless, and he is a dictator. Everything. No, I'll tell you that Barrow was more measured. Barrow was more measured. Person like this would just go ahead and do things.
Yeah, Ben, we're going to stop it here. It's almost 2 hours we've been here. So, I think we will come back again. It's so sad, because I have my place and it's not sophisticated enough, but the amount of money you spend, that's your life savings, your life work, in your place. Even if you have infringed the law, we are Gambians. These are people who left the country. They are paying taxes. They are doing everything. And they bought their land from state institutions. So even if there's anything, as you say, we have to use empathy and have a solution, and I'm disappointed even CDC can suggest this, because he was at the panel in one of QTV's panel, and I saw Mr.
Have you heard what the experts say, Mr. Robinson?
Mr. Robinson was there, Mr. Malandinjete was there, and Mr. Robinson was saying, the engineers and technical people should find a way what they can do to mitigate this thing, and he was at that panel. So for him to come and say, yes, this is
no, he said this before the panel.
Exactly.
He said this before the panel. This was when this flooding happened.
Yeah. So the map is there, and we know these people didn't go and buy this from private people.
Who would deliberately go and put this thing on a
exactly. When I have a private housing estate, the land was sold to council to give it to them. They are building it here, but the waterways, everything has been built before the houses were just put on top of everything.
Yes.
So nobody is even going to say, you build this house. And these things,
if Harden guy have built the cover these things, would it have flood happen? No. Why didn't they go for Harden guy?
Yeah.
The report, that's the audit report is here. Why didn't they go for Harden guy? The Janneh Commission have reprimanded him based on this audit report. Yeah,
anyway, and Ben, thank you so much for your time and the fantastic analysis as always, and thank you, Serendin Bojang, thank you for watching and staying with us, throughout. But it's important for Gambians to reflect. Let's listen to this analysis and reflect and know what is happening in our country is not right. And if we don't come together and voice our frustration and our dismay about corruption, about the blatant use of power against citizens, they will come after each of us one by one. Our people are dying, and when they come for you, then everybody will just be silenced, and you will be victim. You can't do anything, because somebody somewhere take a unilateral decision, and they come with hammers and bulldozers and destroy, nearly $50 million worth of house and all those things. So this is so sad to the extent that is unimaginable. But anyway, once again, thank you for being with us on behalf of Gunjur News Online. I'm extending my appreciation to all of you on behalf of our managing director, Lamin Janneh, and all our teams. Thank you so much, Ben, once again for coming, and greetings, and have a very good night, brother. Thank you so much.
Thank you.